Craig. Chris Curtis in for Greg. How are you this morning?
Good.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Craig. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
We're doing well. Nice road trip, 4-3. How are you feeling this morning as you guys return home with a day off before taking on the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, it was a really good road trip. Certainly there were probably a couple more games we could have won, but anytime you head on the road for 7 games and you play in Baltimore for 4 and then Houston for 3 and walk away with a winning record, I think you absolutely have to take it. We saw a lot of good things. Maybe the pitching staff stabilized a little bit. The rotation gave us a chance to win. This turn through bullpen, especially over the last 2 days, has really taken a step forward. And then we saw Jarren Duran continue to be a spark plug at the top of the lineup. Seemed like he single-handedly was responsible for scoring runs in the beginning of those games in Houston. Cedon had a really great series on both sides of the ball, making highlight plays on defense and contributing with the bat in meaningful ways. Massa continued to stay really hot. So a lot of really, really good things.
11 games over 500. You have the second most road wins in all of Major League Baseball, behind only the Orioles. What is it about your team that allows it to excel away from Fenway?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We spent a ton of time thinking about that. Alex and I often joke about, do we try to put the guys up in a hotel? Do we have a team bus to Fenway? Because we've got to figure out how to win more games at home. But tomorrow night is a good place to start.
Craig, the players have acknowledged the knowing the importance of the last series, and Alex Cora has acknowledged the fact of your standings and keeping up with where you guys are. How important is it for you that players and Alex Cora know where you're at, know the importance of games, but don't focus too much on that?
Yeah, I would love to lie to you and say nobody looks at what's happening, around the league, and nobody looks at how the other teams that we're chasing are playing. It's not true, especially, as you approach late August and into September, and players are no different. But I think what we have to try to do is recognize that reality while also maintaining focus on what we need to do, and that's win the games that are in front of us. What happens around the rest of the league doesn't really matter if we don't play good baseball and we don't win. But it's natural to look around. I think Alex deserves a ton of credit. The players and staff deserve a ton of credit for their ability to maintain focus throughout this season. I think we've talked about that a handful of times on this show, whether it's injuries or outside narratives. Alex's contract situation. That group has done a great job of focusing on their play on the field, on getting better, and as a result, we find ourselves in this position playing really meaningful games.
Craig, when you look at, you say, the reality of, where you are, looking at the schedule, what's the reality for, let's say the beginning of September, midway through September, where you feel like you need to be when it comes to being within striking distance? Hopefully you're holding on to one of those wild card spots, but is there a specific, 2 games back, game and a half back, is there a specific place you'd like to be, beginning midway through September?
I'm not sure that there is, because anytime you're in a position where, you need other teams to lose games, it's to, kind of by definition out of your control. So we would love to be in a place where, hey, if we take care of our games, we'll be fine. That's not the case today as things currently stand. But we also know that this is a really tough stretch for us, in playing teams that will be going to the playoffs, and we need to make sure that we can hold our own. And I think, we've largely done that. But I think as a general rule, for me, kind of being within, 3 games means that you're never more than kind of a series out of things. But at some point, we're going to run out of time, and we need to start leapfrogging teams.
What's a successful season for you, Craig?
I mean, the obvious answer there is winning the World Series. But I think at the same time, while that is the goal and that's the standard that we should seek to uphold, I think looking at individual players, knowing that our core is young and emerging, and being able to point to material improvements in play is really important. So continuing to shore up, infield defense, stabilize the starting rotation, look at pieces of the bullpen who are emerging that can be counted on to throw leverage innings, not just, in the rest of August and September, but heading into 2025. But there's no doubt that our focus is completely on 2024.
So, but it seems to me that the goal is really that third wild card because that's the most approachable. Is that not the case? Obviously you'd love to win the division, but if you don't make the playoffs, is there a way this was a successful season?
I think it depends on, to your previous question, it depends on how you define success, but I don't think that we can sit here, given where we are right now, and say that, hey, we had a largely successful season if we fall short of the playoffs. That doesn't mean that we won't be able to find good things in that. But every year, we should strive to make the playoffs. And given that we have a real chance right now, I think we would all be disappointed if we fall short of that.
Craig, the bullpen flipped the script in a good way the last two games. Why do you think that happened, and how do you make sure that change is here to stay?
Yeah, so I think there are a few things that we can point to. One is starters going a little bit deeper in general this past turn through. Bayo and Tanner certainly pitching deeper into games, and Cutter in Baltimore, and I think that allowed the bullpen to stabilize a little bit and not maybe catch their breath a bit. I think there's probably some positive regression just in terms of pitches that were thrown in the strike zone that had gotten hit hard, to some degree weren't. And then I think there's a little bit of a change in attack and usage and getting back to attacking the strike zone, thinking about execution. I think we saw a lot more fastballs this last couple of games, and with that, maybe the confidence to attack hitters in the strike zone. I think Garcia stands out as a guy over the last two nights who was really aggressive in the zone with a sinker. The velocity was up to 97, 98, and he showed what made us excited to bring him in the first place.
Coming from the world of football, we always talk about young guys hitting a wall, midway through the season. Alex Cora talked about this team having a lot of young kids. You talk about this team having some young players. What are some of the maybe like the obstacles that some of the younger players have to avoid so they don't hit that wall? Or is there something that just every player deals with in baseball when they are a younger player?
Sure. We can collect a ton of information on workload and fatigue and recovery. But the reality is, there's a pretty significant difference in the workloads between a major league season and even a AAA season, in that our AAA teams are off every Monday, and the season is shorter in the minor leagues, and so a lot of our players are playing more games. They're getting more at bats. They're throwing more innings than they ever have before, and also they're going to be playing important games in the end of September and hopefully beyond. So I think Alex does a really good job of managing the entire roster, right? And not shying away from using every guy that's on the team. We see that in the bullpen. We see that in pinch hits and being aggressive. And that's one way to balance out the workload. But I'm just not sure there's really any way to kind of simulate this other than to live through it and know that there will be challenges and obstacles when guys need a day. We'll try to be proactive with that, but we're going to be better for having this young group play through 162 games and hopefully more and play meaningful games in late September.
Craig, we saw Tristan Casas back helping the club, a couple of big hits on the road trip. Any updates on Liam Hendriks or Trevor Story?
Yeah, so Liam has begun his rehab assignment. That is all going pretty well. We know that it'll be a pretty not terribly lengthy process, but part of say it's 6 or 7 or 8 games, this isn't exclusively about, he needs to throw until he feels like he's capable of getting major league hitters out, which is the case sometimes in other rehab assignments. This is actually part of his rehab. He's still building arm strength, and he's still kind of getting up to game speed and game intensity. With Trevor, he continues to make a ton of progress, and just being around him in the clubhouse, there's a different attitude that he's taking every day. He's excited to go hit and field. So I think Liam is certainly on track to come back sooner, but I think there's a real strong chance that Trevor is putting on a Red Sox uniform and helping us at some point.
All right, Craig, that's good to hear. I appreciate your time as always. Good luck against the Diamondbacks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good morning.